Good. Is it playing? Cut. The- Hello. Welcome to the Go Grab That Day podcast. Today I'm very excited to announce that we have, well, I'm not really announcing it because I said it already, but we have Mr. James Quinn McDonagh coming on talking about bare knuckle boxing and the future of it and some exciting things he's doing. So definitely you're going to enjoy this. Any of you fight fans out there, he's doing some really cool, exciting things. For those of you that don't know him or maybe have only heard him through this podcast, he has a documentary he filmed a few years back called Knuckle. It's on, you'll get it on YouTube now. It's free. Go check it out. Maybe check it out before you watch this if you want. Give you more of a background on him, but if not, watch it afterwards. And we'll have a link up here anyway, so enjoy it and hope you guys enjoy the podcast. It was very, very fun to do, and I'm hoping to bug him enough to get him on again. But like I said, there's some very exciting projects coming up for any fight fans. Really cool stuff. So enjoy. Mr. James Quinn, how are you doing, sir?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, sir. Thank you very much.
You right? Let's get a bit of. I'm actually in my hotel room as I'm away from home. The light's not the greatest.
It's okay. Listen, I can see you pretty well, and so no worries. I just appreciate you coming on.
That's okay, brother.
Thank you very much.
So tell me this, Wesley. First of all, where are you from?
I'm from Galway, Galway City, born and bred.
My grandmother, she was ward from Tuam.
Really? Yeah, I know. I've lived next door to McDonagh's my whole life. They're a great family of people.
I'd say you didn't have one of them in a while, did you?
Oh, stop! No, I haven't. I haven't. Not in a long time. Jesus, not a proper one. Anyway, can't even get a nice.
No, you won't get them anywhere only in Ireland.
That's exactly it. And I can't wait to get
right.
back home.
Before you record, what do you want to speak about?
Well, basically, I'd like to pick your brain a bit on your. Obviously, I know you pretty well. I followed you through your previous Knuckle documentary and things like that. But I'd like to pick your brain on your boxing days and obviously your new venture. I'm excited to hear about. So if you don't mind me picking your brain a bit on that.
You go ahead, mate. Go on. No holds barred to a certain extent.
My man. That's what I like to hear. Well, listen, to start it off, obviously I know you, but if you don't mind, quick introduction to some of the people that wouldn't know you, if you don't mind.
No worries. My name is James Quinn McDonagh, an Irish from the Irish traveling community, based in London at the moment. Born in Mullingar, raised in Dundalk in Dublin. I'm the subject as well.
Sweet. That's basically just for obviously I know exactly who you are, but just to give it a little brief introduction. So I have a couple of questions here I've set out just to kind of ask you. So I suppose talk us through your to explain to people who don't know. Obviously, I know the bare knuckle traveling community, how it works and why you get into it and stuff like that. But for a guy who's obviously been involved in it, if you could explain why these things happen and kind of why you get involved in these bare knuckle kind of, if you want to call them bouts or fights or.
But bare knuckle boxing has been alive and strong in the traveling community for generations, particularly and especially the Irish and English travelers and gypsies. We use it. Well, we previously used it as a way of settling disputes. Instead of using guns and knives, stuff like that, we go out like men and go win or lose. We respect the other guy. It's a thing that we believe that helps put a plaster or cool down feuding families.
Yeah, which is just like you said, it's a good way to do it when one, rather than having groups, you got one man from each side doing it. And I know from out here, obviously in New Zealand where I'm based right now, there isn't a lot of Irish travelers, but you do there's a lot of biker gangs, and they do the same thing. If there's a problem between, it's very similar. They send a group of guys out, they'll bring a couple of their friends, the next guy bring a couple of his friends, they'll have a scrap, and
very good.
It cools off the bigger side of the fights, which is a good thing.
Opening curtain. Carry on.
And yeah,
just going to get the curtains up a bit more light.
Yeah, no problem. No, it's pretty clear there. Anyways, it's actually not a bad picture.
That's okay, buddy. As long as you're happy, I'm happy. That's okay. Right, buddy, go ahead.
The other question I had for you was in terms of bare knuckle boxing now. compared to when you kind of started out and you were doing it? How much? In what ways do you think it has changed? Is it better now, or is it?
Well, you know what it is. Bare knuckle boxing. It was only prior to 2011 when Ian Palmer put together that footage from Knuckle and start getting the movie out there. Prior to that, people only classed bare knuckle boxing as something that's within the tribal community. Your animals, you're fighting, you do this, you do that, whatever. They didn't realize the reason for it and the necessity for it. Whereas it's our way of sitting around a table and sorting problems out in that line of fire. Bare knuckle boxing has moved on from the back streets and handball alleys and fields to modern day boxing, where we are now. I think there's 11 boxing promoters in the UK promoting bare knuckle boxing. It's legalized from the very first show that I personally done in April 2014. We done the very, very first bare knuckle boxing event in Nottingham, UK, under the supervision of local authorities and the police. And they let us do that, after hard court battles and hard fought, getting licensed to do it. Whereas now a lot of travelers are still doing the bare knuckle boxing on the streets, and it's still helping to settle feuds instead of gangs going on at each other. They send out their best man. He's got this family's got their best man. That family's got the best man. In turn, they would fight, and then the seconds, thirds, and fourths. If there's more than one fight, it does help a lot. But as I always said, I personally think that bare knuckle boxing now needs to leave the streets. Traveling men are really, really good, decent fighters. Every clan would have a fighter, and a second and third fighters, and they're good fighters. I'm not saying who's good or who's bad. I'm saying that every family out there has got decent fighters. And my honest opinion, leave the feuding where it was in the past, and take this to the next generation and bring it and make some decent money on the bare knuckle boxing scene that's fast rising and coming into fifth gear.
Yeah, I actually totally agree with you. I remember, I don't know when it was, you probably correct me, but going back probably 3 or 4 years ago, something like that, you were actually trying to get together with an organization, like a bare knuckle boxing proper organization. And I remember hearing about that, and I was thinking, it's a great idea.
Yeah, there was a company, a friend of mine set up, the IBKBF, International Bare Knuckle Boxing Federation. But I think since that has been disbanded, our plan now with bare knuckle boxing is I work for a company, and within that organization, we are doing a reality shows, number one, where we get country versus country, going in Big Brother style houses like that. But we're also setting up. We've signed up promoters from India, Russia, USA, UK, Norway, Sweden, Poland, and we're in talks with Germany and France. Wow. So this is where bare knuckle boxing has come from since the movie Knuckle has come out, because before Knuckle has come out, there was no bare knuckle boxing promoters. There was nothing. When I done the first one at Knuckle Promotion at the time, then it spread up from that, and it's coming on really, really well. So what we've done now is our plan is to take the owners of each promoter from each of the big companies and putting them on a sanctioning body. Whereas we will, under one rules, one reg between us. So it means that all the companies that signed up has a fair say on who's in the ranking system, who should fight who. Instead of one company using their own fighters to fight each other all the time, where we within BKWars.tv are going to be putting on some fights all over the world and getting a ranking system going where under our organization, headed by a member of each promoter, meaning that each one's got a fair say. In turn, there's got to be a fair ranking, there's got to be fair shot at everything. So basically, this new organization will take over bare knuckle boxing in general, because every bare knuckle boxing company that wants to be involved is involved, and it's a way of getting it worldwide very, very fast. Then we're moving our channel BKWars.tv to an online streaming channel where we're going to be streaming fights every week.
Wow, that's really good. That's really good. I'm glad to hear that. It's something there is a lot of money in, especially for, like you said, the guys that are fighting, probably not making as much as they could be making if it was under a proper
1,000,000%. Well, you know what? the money the travelling lads at the moment make is what the families put up and they take off each other's family. And that means more bad blood within the families, because if someone loses money, it means they want to go and get it back. So it's a never ending story. Yeah. So what I recommend is give it a break, lads. Shake hands and walk away from that and join one of the boxing promoters who is on our organization. Join one of them and you'll get your fights, you get your big money, and you'll get, we only need in this company, in this organization, we only need one Conor McGregor to make this right, to make one of those guys is going to be a superstar. Yeah. It could be a member of the traveling community, it can be a member of the settled community, because we take on all fighters within the 11 or 12 organizations, that promoters that we're working with. So it only takes one guy, one lucky guy, to make a name for himself, like the way Conor McGregor has come up from signing on the dole a number of years ago to a multi-millionaire. Yeah. So we want to find the next Conor McGregor in that organization, and he's out there. He just needs to come forward, put his name down, and let us get him right.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like I said, I'm a big MMA fan, and I have been for a long time. And it took so long for that to get sanctioned because people called it human cockfighting, and it was this and it was that. It was a disgrace. It's not boxing. But when you hear, like you just explained, the stories behind the people that are doing it, it's not all about the blood and the guts. It's about, the battle between two men getting in there,
Exactly. Also, we will be documenting, we will be following some of the fighters, especially the guys that will be going into the Big Brother style house. We will not be just following their lives, but the lives of their families, their kids, why they want to do it. Are they doing it for the money? Are they doing it for the glory? Are they doing it for, for feed their families? Are they doing it just to keep their mind right, get away from health issues? They're doing it. Each and every fighter that we have, and we've interviewed them many, many times, they speak about different stories of why. Some guys want to do it to get the money. More guys want to do it for that, to get a legacy. There's so many different reasons for each fighter, and each story is unique in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great idea. In terms of the actual organization of it, it's obviously going to be in some form of a ring or a cage, yes?
That's to be decided how big the rings are at the moment. We're still working on the rules. The rules are good. Each promoter that we've signed up obviously has got, some of them got 5 3-minute rounds, 10 2-minute rounds, and all that. But we need to put a set of rules in, working with all of the guys together, is coming to a compromise that the organization is for the benefit of the fighters, not just the money men or people making money. We've got to make sure that the fighters looked after. There's health and safety. There's there's ring doctors. There's medics. Everything is in place and proper.
Yeah, I love that idea of putting it in a ring or a cage, simply because, which you know better than anyone, a lot of the times when it's done outside, first of all, it's not safe. You've seen guys fall and they hit their head on the concrete, and also with fights, there's too much moving over and back, because you have such a wide area. You know what I mean? Now these guys have got to use.
No, it's going to be really. We're going to be using big venues in the future, and within big venues, we'll have all the risk assessments sorted out, which we do. We have everything is in place to make it be a success. It cannot be not a success. It's got to work. It's a new up and coming sport to a lot of people, but to people like myself, it's been there since I was born, before I was born, and way back in our generations. But in general, it's a new sport, and I think it's when MMA, as you said, when MMA came out in the first a few years back, everyone was just looking down at it. Well, now you look at it, it's MMA and UFC and all of that, and well done to them, every one of them. But we believe that bare knuckle boxing is the next new thing in combat sports for the general public.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I think it's a big market there. Like, you see, it just needs, like you said, it needs the right promoters, obviously, and you're no better man than you to be a part of it. And like you said, the next Conor McGregor, or whoever it may be, some guy who just paves the way for the next guys to follow behind him. So in terms of this new venture, which I can't wait to talk to you about, the Big Brother house thing, what exactly is it going to be?
Big Brother, it's been titled at the moment as Quinn's Deadliest Fights, but that's just a working title. Basically, it is where we take 12 fighters from the UK against 12 fighters from the USA. We're in talks at the moment with India, where we may be doing 12 fighters welterweights from India taking on 12 UK fighters. The whole strategy of it is 12 goes in plus a team captain into a house, each house. And then within that house, we get the stories, we get them training, we get them sparring. But when the shit hits the fan, we need to start eliminating people, then we have in-house fighting. And only 8 plus a team captain can leave the house and go to the main event in the USA or wherever we're going to be staging it. So there's going to be 4 losers in that house, and they've got to go like any other elimination competition. Then when the guys take on each other in the USA, even during the weigh-ins, they're all there together, but no one knows who they're fighting until the very minute each country steps into the ring. So they're all matched same weight, same kind of experience. So you don't know who you're fighting till that cloak is took down off your head and you're in that ring, and that's your opponent. So there's a lot of twists and things with it. It's a competition where I believe I've had the idea of going back 2012. I always wanted to do country versus country. It's always been USA versus UK. But who's coming to fast running at the moment is India. Where we're in talks with a company over there to do it out there as well. So it's good. It's going to be in a major competition. It's going to be all recorded, pre-recorded, all that stuff, like Big Brother style, hidden cameras and that. And then the main event, it's the actual main fight event, will be streamed live.
Wow, I love that idea. That sounds wicked. When in terms of it starting, you're probably a bit away from starting.
We are going to start to live streaming competitions from March, and then we will be in talks with the boxing promoters themselves who signed up with us to take some of their fighters, each and every one of them, giving each promoter a fair crack at the whip for his fighters to be involved. So we're hoping midsummer. It starts midsummer. It'll be an amazing competition. It's nothing like where you get the Ultimate Fighter or the Contender in the boxing, the Ultimate Fighter MMA. We're going to have a lot of twists and things to it. We've also signed up, which I can't mention the name right now. We've signed up as vice president, a living legend in the boxing world, a 5-time world champion, a 4-weight world champion, I believe, or 5 different weight world champion. He's come on board. We're very happy to have him on board, and there may be 1 or 2 more surprises with that. But the guy that's just come on as vice president of BKWars.tv is one of the biggest names in boxing today.
Brilliant. That's what I like to hear. It's good. That's what you need. You need those kind of guys pushing it with you. So
we need those type of guys pushing it. And believe me, this guy we've got. At the moment we're just waiting for contracts to be signed. But at the moment, with this guy, he is the cream of the crop when it comes to the boxing world. Just retired, and amazing guy. Met him a number of times. He's a lovely person.
Oh, I have a lot of names running through my head, but I don't want to try and spoil it for you. But
I know. Let's just say it'll be. Basically, we're just waiting for contracts to be signed, and once that's done, then we can make announcements. But it is a big name. It's a good capture for us. It's a good thing for him, just leaving the boxing world, and coming on to what he's doing with us. Amazing. That's what I can say. It's amazing.
Wow, it's limitless by the sounds of things. You're going to do big things with the sound of that. In terms of, as you said, you have probably 2 team captains. Is this going to be like possibly a legend like yourself, or?
No, the team captains will actually be fighting each other as well. They're going to be boxers. They're going to be more experienced bare knuckle fighters. We've got one already in the USA, and at the moment we've got one here in the UK. We do have our team captains picked. Again, waiting for contracts to be signed, and then I could talk about them. But with the team captains are exempt from the in-house fighting. They're there more as a coach or a mentor, and I'll be there doing a lot of work. And this other famous guy will be doing it in the US, and we will be, trying to match up the fights as much as possible, giving everyone a fair crack at it while they're in the house, making sure they're doing their training right and making sure everything's right. And if they fight, they win, they go to the USA for the grand finals. If they lose, they walk away, but they'll always be part of the business.
Wow, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. In terms of the, I'm not going to keep you too much longer because I know you're a busy guy.
No, you're okay. Don't worry.
Yeah, all good, sweet. In terms of the USA, I know now Bare Knuckle is kind of picking up a little bit, but surely the UK has got a much more powerful
I'll answer that. I'll answer that as good as I can without running or without saying any bad about anyone else.
Yeah,
Bare knuckle boxing in the USA is getting big. It's getting there, okay, but it's going to be very very hard in the US to outdo basketball, National League football, college football, ice hockey, stuff like that. They're all American legend sports. They'll always come before bare knuckle boxing out there. With me and us and my company, we are going to target the rest of the world plus the USA.
yeah,
We don't want to just stick to one country. Within the UK, there is a lot more promotion companies and a lot more activity in the bare knuckle boxing world than there is in the US.
yeah, yeah. I see, but it's interesting. I was when you had mentioned about a US team, that's already showing you something that this is starting to roll. You know, it's starting to pick up because you're gathering interest clearly from other countries and stuff like that. So that's a good sign for to start off with before this thing even airs.
1 million%.
And with in terms of streaming, it's going to be on your bare knuckle TV streaming platform.
Yeah, well, we're in talks at the moment. What's going on the actual channel. It may well be live streaming from bkwars.tv. We're doing the app on the phone where people can subscribe for the live view for the live fights, and we'll be showing footage from all the promoters on a daily basis with new footage going up every couple of days.
Oh, I have a lot of people over here, some of the Kiwis and the local guys in particular. I work with a couple of bikey guys in the scaffolding business, but they're always asking me that they're huge fans of watching the Irish and the UK bare knuckle boxing. And when they hear this news, they're going to go crazy. So you're going to have a lot of fans over here. I'll spread it around as much
Yeah,
as I can.
you know what? I've been searching. I've been searching in Australia, and I've been searching in New Zealand for any promoter that would be interested in joining up with us. So I'd like to just mention that now. If anyone's watching this from New Zealand or from Australia or from any other country that wants to do bare knuckle boxing promoting, get in touch with us on Instagram or Facebook, James Quinn McDonagh, and I will gladly sit down and speak to you.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, I'll share when we edit this and we put it up and all that. I'll share all your details and stuff like that, and hopefully you'll start to get some people
Brilliant,
contact.
brilliant.
Sweet. Well, I suppose this is the question. One of the questions I wanted to ask you in terms of yourself. Your days bare knuckle boxing are done, yes?
My days of bare knuckle boxing is well done, and my biggest fight at the moment is surviving this pandemic, this COVID. In general, everyone's got to protect themselves and follow government guidelines and just stay clean and stay healthy and keep a distance. And that's my biggest fight at the moment. My bare knuckle boxing days are finished.
Yeah, yeah. I see. People are always trying to rope you back in, so it's good to hear that. You've done your time. You're a legend in the sport. You know what I mean. So it's time. You're paving the way now for all these new boys coming up, which it's what they need.
That's it.
Well, listen.
So one thing I would like to say is regarding the lockdown. The lockdown's got a lot of people sitting around doing nothing. My advice would be regarding the mental health side of the effects of the lockdown is get out, do a bit of jogging, do a bit of walking, do a bit of shadow boxing, do something. Don't sit around all day doing nothing every day, because this pandemic is not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. So look after yourself and look after your mental health. And the greatest way I find personally to get things out of your head is to go for a jog, shadow box, spar, anything like that. Just get out and keep yourself busy, and that will be okay.
Totally agree with you. I'm always telling people when I'm doing the podcast, look, you can look at it as this horrible pandemic, that's whatever, or else you can look at it, you've now got time to better yourself, do a bit of studying, do a bit of training, shadow boxing. Like you said, it's all about the mental side of things, strengthen yourself in some way, whatever it may be. But like I said, looking at guys like you and these things you're doing in the bare knuckle world, as a fight fan for me, man, it's super exciting times. I really cannot wait for all this to kick off. I'll be the first person.
It is going to be exactly. It is exactly what you said. It is going to be an exciting year. This year will tell a tale on bare knuckle boxing. It's next to going mainstream. Once we get this organization up and running and all the promoters on board, there's no stopping it going mainstream. People, 10, 12 years ago, 8 years ago, were saying bare knuckle boxing will never take off in the UK. It's never going to happen. Nobody will allow it. So when I tried to put on the first show in 2013, I was stopped by the police. They wouldn't let me do it. they shut every venue down who I convinced to let me do it. So then I went ahead and tried to put a show on, and me and an ex-partner of mine at the time, Michael Blackett, a great boxer's head. We went and got ourselves arrested, and when I got ourselves arrested deliberately because we wanted our day in court in front of a magistrate or whatever, and the magistrate said to us, what was that? What, you cannot do this. It's not illegal. It's not legal. Well, I said, Your Honor, can you or anyone in the room show me where it's not illegal, where it's not illegal? Or we can say that it's legal. You can say it's not. Is there anything in the books? It's never been written in the book that bare knuckle boxing is illegal. So I said, Your Honor, I says, if you go into Sainsbury's car park and you give two guys boxing gloves, and in the other corner MMA gloves, and in the other corner you put them in bare knuckle, I said, which of them fights is illegal? He said, well, they're all illegal because they're all in Sainsbury's car park. I said, correct. But put them all under the right risk assessment, health things, and put them into a ring in a good venue with medics around. Which of them then is illegal? But he said, preferably none of them. So I then was allowed to put on the shows.
Well, that's the thing. What a lot of people don't know, the people like to give out and say, they talk about MMA with the smaller gloves, and they say, oh, bare knuckle is too dangerous for. But what people don't realize is the gloves are not there to protect the person's head. It's to protect your hands. That's all it is. It doesn't. Boxing is actually more dangerous. Boxing is the most dangerous of all sports.
When the UFC started, exactly, when the UFC started first, I think it was 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. The first 4 shows were all bare knuckle.
Yeah.
If you go back and look at them, 90% of the fights were bare knuckle. My personal opinion, I like the MMA, I watch it, and UFC, I'm a great fan of UFC and all that. But my personal opinion, why the gloves are brought in, is they've seen a market for merchandise sales. And you can look at now how many pairs of MMA gloves are out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of it was, if you listen, there was a big referee at the time, Big John McCarthy. He was kind of the guy who was doing like the stuff you're trying to do now for bare knuckle. And he said part of the reason why he put the gloves on was just so it looked better to legalize it. You know what I mean? He said realistically, they didn't need them.
Correct.
In fact, they were more of a hindrance than anything. Guys don't actually like them.
Correct. There is a company in Florida who I know very well, and they're really nice guys. And they've come up with their own glove, which covers the wrist about 5 fingers wide, right down to the hands. Straps in there, but it's just got nothing there. Yeah. It just helps them get things moving in the USA.
Yeah,
and now the whole knuckle is open. It just gives them gives the viewer an idea that there's something on the hands. That's all it is.
And what I like as well is I watched one of the bare knuckle events that was on a few weeks ago. An ex-UFC fighter, Paige Van Zandt, she was fighting. But what I had noticed is, like I said, for a fight fan like me, it's added a new dynamic to fight sports, because like some of these fighters that go from boxing or go from MMA, they still need to try and figure this out, because there's such a difference with no gloves and the distance control, things like that. So it adds this new element to fighting.
Control, the leg control, the stance, everything. Switching from MMA to a bare knuckle boxing competition, I've seen it happen. I've seen good MMA fighters come into the sport being beaten by an average bare knuckle boxer because of the different way of doing these. Until they get used to it, it is coming up fairly fast for them. And MMA fighters are really good men to fight, but it's just it's a lot different. Put it that way, it's a lot different. Yeah. And the most important thing as well, we're not discriminating against anyone. Anyone can join us, and we are taking on women as well in the bare knuckle boxing world.
That's good. Well, that's the way the times are moving like that. And listen, if you look at some of the women that are fighting nowadays, whether you're on the for side or against,
and some of the women out there would beat men.
Yeah, exactly. Some of them are super talented, and you got to give them that respect. It's only fair that they get to perform at a sport they're so good at. There's some idiots out there who don't want to see them do it, but listen, they have every right to do it, and there's some fantastic female fighters out there too.
Absolutely. Who are we to say that no one can do nothing? If you want to do something yourself and you've got that drive and ambition to move forward with your plans and your vision, go with it.
Yeah, and exactly. And for all you know, the person that's going to lead the way, your next Conor McGregor, could be a female. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's. I know for a fact that this year will bring out a bare knuckle boxer who's going to be globally recognized, and will be probably the first millionaire bare knuckle boxer. Will happen this year, between this year and next year.
Right, and that's what it needs. And listen, I hope it does. And I think that I literally think that sport is like where the UFC was. You just need that. There's something little thing that just needs to happen for you guys,
It
and
just
it's going to
a little
explode.
bit tweaked here and there. It'll happen. We're on the right track. We know what we're doing. But BKWars.tv, we've crossed all the T's, dotted the I's. We've got the full plan, and there's no stopping us. I believe. I believe that we will be the biggest organization in the world within a year. I believe that with all the boxing promoters on board, the best thing about the boxing promoters coming on board is those guys are promoting themselves and their own companies. We're just streaming all the materials for them, and we're helping them get a sanction body. We're like the Zoom of bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And I really hope all these people come on board here. Like I said, I am going to share the hell out of it over here and see who I can get to hopefully join, or if not join, at least watch it. At least watch it and give it the
Any
credit it
any
deserves.
any promoters in New Zealand or Australia is interested in joining up in our organisation and wants to put on some boxing shows. There'll be obviously this is something I didn't say. We will be funding all the shows to get the content for the TV channel.
Great.
So that helps a lot.
Like I said, I'm involved in some form of MMA clubs and stuff out here, so I will share it around, and hopefully someone there will realize the worth in what you're doing, and they might get on board, or like I said, if not, at least watch it and support what you guys are doing, because I
has there ever been a bare knuckle boxing competition out there? Have you ever seen one? Have you ever seen one on the ring or anything?
No, not that I can think of, but like I said, there's been street bare knuckle boxing, which I know you're going the other way. But not.
What we need to do is find out the legalities over there. Are we allowed to do it? If we are, I'd love to speak to the promoters and maybe want to introduce it at slowly 1-2 fights at a time and get the crowd used to what we're doing.
Yeah, well, listen, MMA itself was a bit, because New Zealand is it's a bit like Ireland. It's a small place, but it's very isolated on its own. So even MMA is only now getting its. People are starting to appreciate it. They're not looking at it like this cockfighting sport. So that's going to help bare knuckle and stuff like that. It's people just need their eyes opened, their minds expanded a bit, and not look down on these things as much as they have done. Give it the respect it deserves. Like rugby is a massive sport out here, but it's as rough as anything, So they just need to.
It's like watch the movie before you judge it. Give us the opportunity to show what we can do and how we can bring the sport forward and how it is a gentleman's sport. Within. Bare knuckle boxing started way back, as we know, way back, right? You got to understand, like some say, John L. Sullivan, okay? He fought Jake Kilrain in his last bare knuckle fight in 1889, and then he was the last bare knuckle world champion. Then the Marquess of Queensberry rules came in, and he fought gentleman Jim Corbett, 1891, I believe, and he lost that title. But he was the first. He was the last bare knuckle boxing champion, the first of the gloved era. But you have to understand, again, it was brought in supposedly, the gloves of the mitts and that was brought in supposedly to protect the fighter's face and that. It doesn't. It does more long-term damage than bare knuckle does. Bare knuckle will do more facial, short-term damage, right? But with gloves, you've got more long-term damage in the brain. Whereas it's not just all about that actual fight with gloves or that actual fight with no gloves. You think of the continuous sparring with gloves, the hours and hours a fighter puts into training, puts into taking punches into the head. If he stands there, he's not going to take bare knuckle punches in his sparring. But with gloves, you tend to take it more and give a little bit more. So you think that it's more safer. It's not. Glove boxing is more dangerous long term than bare knuckle.
Absolutely, and slowly people are starting to realize. Even your headgear. I mean, that does, like, I'm sure you've wore it plenty of times. I've wore it sparring too. It's more of a hindrance than anything. I hate it.
Headgear again, short term or long term, whatever. It doesn't do any. It's no good. That's in my opinion. Anyone that I spoke to the fights, headgear doesn't save them from any internal damage.
Yeah, no, it doesn't, and that's what people do need to realize. It's getting, like I said, it's getting out there a little bit, but the whole gloves argument, people need to realize it's got nothing to do with helping your brain. And there's a lot of nobody has died in an MMA fight yet. You know, touch wood, it never will happen. But in boxing,
Exactly,
you know,
exactly. But I think in boxing you get a couple. It's not highlighted, but I believe a couple of year die in boxing.
yeah, yeah, and and then
So
they ignore. You know, there's a lot of guys, as you know, the great Muhammad Ali and a lot of these other guys. They were not right after their careers, and it's because they didn't
it's
know.
because of the old layman term punch drunk. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So no, absolutely. People at the same time, bare knuckle, you know, can be one of the biggest sports out there if people give it a chance, and it deserves to be.
Well, we aim to put bare knuckle boxing on the map this year with the live streaming shows, and then midsummer with the in-house fight, the Big Brother style competition. I think that's going to make people stand up and say bare knuckle boxing is here to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna. I think it's by the sounds of it, it's gonna stamp bare knuckle boxing finally into where it should be. And
Oh, it is. It is. We're also doing. Yeah, we'll be doing hopefully 3 seasons a year. We'll be doing the heavyweights, welterweights, and lightweights. We'll be taking on different countries, and then different countries we'll have, for argument's sake, you'll have New Zealand take on Australia. You have India take on USA, USA take on Australia. We'll be mixing and matching it every year, 3 different seasons. So I know there's a new Conor McGregor somewhere in there,
absolutely, yeah.
and he will then bring the sport to the next level.
That's all you need. Look, they're sitting out there somewhere, just waiting for somebody to give them the platform. You know they're out there. They just, you know, maybe
That's it, man.
whatever it is, they don't like boxing, and this is probably perfect for them. You know, listen, I'm not going to hold you too much longer, James.
Exactly.
I appreciate very much you coming on the podcast. Honestly, it's great what you're doing. I cannot wait to watch all the stuff. I'm going to share the hell out of it over here. And
Wesley, it's my pleasure, buddy. I'm sorry for holding you up so long. It's my pleasure to do the podcast with you. And anything you need, if you ever need any more information, regardless, whatever it is, don't hesitate. Contact me.
absolutely, I really appreciate it. Listen, best of luck with everything, and I'm going to follow very closely the next few months what's happening with Bare Knuckle. All the best, my friend. You take care.
God bless you, buddy. God bless you. Enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Yeah, so that was James Quinn McDonagh. Like I said, some very exciting stuff coming up. He's working on a pretty cool project. I am hoping to check in with him again, maybe when the project gets underway or when anytime. You know, he has offered to come on another time again, so I'll definitely bug him enough to get him on. But like I said before the interview, check out his documentary Knuckle on YouTube. It's really good. You get his background and his fighting days and kind of how some of the gypsy traveller bare knuckle boxing, how it works and stuff like that. But thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to check out James Quinn McDonagh on Facebook and check out his Instagram and stuff like that. We'll put up any links here on the page. And thanks for watching, guys. Take care.